What is up, survivors? We're back for another mod review, and for today's mod review we're going to be going over ARK Supreme. This is a big one. We'll get into it. So ARK Supreme is very much a total conversion sort of overhaul thing where we're going to see all sorts of crazy monstrosities. Think Primal Fear. Kind of, sort of. Definitely relatable to as far as comparison goes. Which this really does is just ramp things up as far as the dinos and what they can do and the items and stuff like that. It really just kind of steps it up. Disclaimer ahead of time, I would run something that is not standard vanilla settings when you're running this mod if you're going to use it. Run something with a high animal tame level. If you notice, these guys are at 750. Predominantly you want like the level cap to be around 600 from what I'm understanding. But basically, you're going to have different tiers of animals, not just normal tames that we normally see. You'll see tiers of these animals. And they start off in this Delta variant, and they're all, most Delta animals are colored this way. They have that greenish tint to them. It goes from there to an Alpha, which is a little bit bigger, white, a little bit of red. Then we go to an Apex, which is like a red and black. Then we go into a Elemental. This one is electric, but there's also fire and an ice one as well, so you can kind of tame different types of them. And yeah, so you got that, and then the Prime, which is even bigger, obviously. The stat increase, damage increase, all that stuff. The base stats is definitely multiplied every time every time that this steps up from Delta to Alpha to Apex to these guys. And then obviously these do a little bit of elemental damage, I'm noticing, when they hit as well, all the way up to the Prime. Prime seems to be the last one here. And as we can see, the size comparison is obviously bigger as well. That's a Delta Allo, which is considerably bigger than a normal Allo. Then we go to the Alpha, the Apex, the Electric, and the Prime. So this is a tier-based system that you kind of actually have to work your way through in order to work, in order to actually play it. So it doesn't really behoove you to go find a Prime as soon as the game starts and try to tame yourself a Prime, because you're not going to have access to be able to do stuff like that, which is an interesting concept, and that's where we'll get into a lot of these structures. Some of these structures are made on your person, some of them are made through something else, but let's talk about what engrams you're going to unlock on your own. So you have a Supreme Cauldron, a Supreme Bench, a Supreme Gotcha Collector, a farm, a fish farm, and a potion table. Also, you'll get the Raft, a refining forge, the boss altar as well. All of this will unlock before you. Once you're hitting level 30, you'll have all of this unlocked. And if you're playing with something as ramped up level capped as this, it's probably going to happen pretty quickly. Think of the Cauldron as the cooker. Think as the bench as the smithy for this mod, essentially. The Gotcha Collector does what you would think it does. It actually pulls Gotcha Crystals, which is very important with this mod, and we'll talk about why. The Potion Table makes potions, obviously. This Fish Farm and Supreme Farm are actually really useful, even if you're not really into the mod itself. These are really cool automated things that look nice too. The Raft is a high-end raft. We'll talk about how that works as well. The refining forge will be able to melt normal metal for you, but then also some special items that are only available in this mod. The boss altar that we'll talk about as well. So what do we have out here? Let's actually go over here. This one, I love the way these things look, actually. So this is the Supreme Farm. You're going to place the farm down. It doesn't require fuel or anything, and it has little dodos wandering around. You'll see dodos and pigs and all that stuff just wandering around inside of this thing. What it does is just creates meat and hide for you over time. You just place it down. It just does it by itself. Dodos and pigs will just spawn. You can kill them off if you want to, but in reality, it just does everything by itself. It even has a light that you can tell it to stop breeding. You can turn the light on and off, and you can make a bunch of these. Stack them next to each other if you want to. Constant meat and hide source. This is really good. I really enjoy this one. And I like that it's like something going on too. That's always fun to see. Like you'll see the little pigs running around here and the dodos running around here. Dig it. Plus hide and meat you're going to need a lot of in this mod. Down here in the water is the fish farm. This kind of works the same way, but all this is really doing is creating pearls over time. Again, you can make a bunch of these if you wanted to, but then it'll also spawn fish nearby. That saber-tooth salmon was not here earlier. That got just kind of sapped up. But essentially, putting it on the shoreline really isn't that effective because it's like a radius. So really, I should have put it like down there in the bottom of that gully down there in the water. But what it'll do is just spawn fish for you nearby as well, so you can get easy fish meat. Also makes it if you get like a, I don't know, a really cool fishing rod to fish out here, be really convenient. The raft looks like a normal raft, right? Obviously textured differently, colored a little bit better in my opinion, but this thing is super fast. I can turn it on a dime just by sitting still, and as we can see, this thing is very, very fast. Very, very fast. Leads apparently will not target these things, and as you can see, I can spin around on a dime. I can even back up as well. So it's kind of crazy. I don't know how I feel about the raft. Maybe depending on what you're doing later on, I can see where it kind of be useful. Right now, I think it's a little overkill, but I do like the idea of a raft that Elites doesn't go after. And even as fast as it is, it actually handles really well too. So that was the other thing I was worried about, is that it would be so fast that it would be kind of erratic, and it's not. It's actually really smooth. Over here, we got we have different levels of all sorts of animals, and obviously not just Allosaurus. I think that's a wild alpha trike out there. You'll see all sorts of animals out here. Where is my spyglass? What we got over here? Oh, just regular Pheomius, regular Parasaurs, regular Stegos. Of course, we're all gonna make a fool out of me right now. Yeah, I believe this is the Alpha Trike. Yep, it's Alpha Trike running around. Now, I didn't change the level cap because this is just a single player for me to test this and mess around with it, but I would highly suggest you do that. These animals will be a bit OP if you don't, honestly. But yeah, there's a long list, and again, we'll have a link to the mod workshop page in the description of the video of all the different animals there are. It's actually a pretty big list, and it's kind of diverse too. I was worried that it would just be carnivores or just be certain types of creatures, and it's really not. They're kind of all represented. The one thing I wanted to talk about with the Jerboas, and this is one of the things I haven't really figured out yet. Apparently you can ride these things, but I don't know how you... I mean, I'm assuming there's something I need to put on the head or the costume in order to do that, but I haven't really figured out a way to do that. Maybe if I just put a helmet on it? Although that's pretty hilarious. Can I ride it now? No, still can't ride it. Okay, well. You know what? You're gonna hang out in style, my friend. There you go. Represent. And the only way you're gonna get that is with a Harvs Corner Mod. Link is in the description. Anyway. Back on track. So let's talk about all the different crafting stations up here and what they're going to do for you, and then a couple of other things to note about how this mod really works. So the smithy over here is really made to make all of your saddles. So again, they have it kind of organized for you: Delta, Alpha, Apex, Elemental, Prime, which is kind of cool. All the elementals take the same... Well, no, they don't. I'm sorry. All the elementals are subcategorized in here of their saddles as well. So all your corresponding saddles are there too. In your Delta variant, you're going to have to kill Delta animals to in turn get Delta hide, to in turn make Delta saddles. So this kind of works every way with all of these, right? You need alphas, you got to kill alphas. And this isn't your traditional alphas with the fire around them. This is all these alpha labeled animals. Apex as well, it's all gonna be the same thing. Now we're getting into things like Apex metal bars. We'll talk about how that stuff works as well. Yeah, pretty straightforward. You will be able to make this magic well on the smithy as well. I have one over there. We'll talk about how that works, but essentially it's just free water wherever you drop it down at. We have different weapons in here as well, predominantly arrows. So the cool part of this is we get some healing darts that actually do mass healing, which is really cool in some of these boss fights that we'll talk about how they work later on. Being able to heal your critters real quick is super beneficial. There's different stages. You have your stage 1 does 5k health, stage 2 this is 15k, and stage 3 that does 30k. Now obviously we're starting to see a bit more items that are not really familiar, right? These healing narcos, the prime metal. We're going to talk about how you get a lot of those items as well. We also have torpor darts that work the same way. Now, as you can see, certain darts are going to be made to tame certain things, right? Our frost infused dart, we have our fire infused dart, we have the electric fused dart, we have the apex, we have the alpha, and we also have the prime. It looks like for the most part, from what I'm gathering out of here, is Delta you just use traditional tranks on. Is kind of what I'm from my understanding. That's how this is working. What's next? All right, so let's talk about this cooking. So it's labeled a mortar and pestle, but I don't really think it is that, is it? No, it's definitely a Supreme Cauldron. It's definitely a Supreme Cauldron, even though it says mortar and pestle up here. It will work like a mortar and pestle. You'll be able to make a lot of the stuff that you would make on a chem bench here as well. Even, you know, your bug repellents and your traditional narco stimulants, all that stuff. You'll be able to make all of that stuff here. But predominantly, you're going to make your kibbles here. Your kibbles are going to be used to tame a certain type of animal, right? So if I'm trying to tame a fire animal, I'm going to want to take a fire kibble. And there's a lot of other elements to this too, right? Element, fruit, fire blood, fire essence, fire herbs. We're going to talk about how that all stuff works. And we're actually going to go back to the smithy to show you a couple things. But basically that's it. You're going to use a certain type of kibble to tame a certain type of dinos. Narcotics are the same way. They're going to be stepped up as well. They're going to be more effective and used for certain animals. It's pretty straightforward. The healing narcotics is one you'll use in some of your healing recipes, obviously. This is just straight Amar berries, measure berries, and spoiled meat to make it, which is pretty nice. The fact that you can just make that on the fly early on is super helpful. What? I think that's it out of this. But as you can notice, I kind of dumped all the stuff that I got from like just this mod related items into here just to kind of show you what's going on here. So when you kill, let's say, a fire creature, you could potentially get fire crystals. You're probably going to get fire hide, and a few other things as well. Basically, the crystals that you'll get from killing these animals, you'll take the crystals and then take them over to the smithy and dump them in here. From here, you'll be able to make the essence out of the crystals. And at first I was like, man, this might seem kind of grindy because it's, you know, they all say it's going to cost 1 crystal, right? But if I craft 1, it gives me 10. So it's actually a 10-to-1 ratio, which is kind of nice. Definitely a good eye on that one. If it was 1 for 1, I would have felt a bit grindy, but with that, I actually like that a lot better. But essentially you'll do that. You'll take the essence over here, you'll dump it in this guy, and then you'll be able to make, you know, sorry, let me go back to the kibble section. You'll be able to make the kibbles in here that you need to make. Over here, there's also bloods that are available too. The bloods you'll get from killing those creatures. Pretty much any sort of element style thing you're going to get from killing that type of creature for the most part. Now, there's other stuff in the beginning. For instance, this Delta Kibble, right? You need Delta Herbs. How does that work? We'll go into that real quick, but let's get through all the structures first. The next is just, it looks kind of like a wooden storage box, but what this really is a gacha collector that'll grab gacha crystals. You can open up a radio menu and show the radius. You can tell it's turn on or turn off, and then also whether or not you wanted to collect the crystals. This right here is the well, and this is, like I said, let me turn my HUD back on actually. You can just drink water out of this. It just has water already in it, so if you need water, you can just grab it on the fly wherever you are. Which is kind of nice. The refining forge here, very much you can make the same stuff that you normally could make. You can make metal, you can make scrap metal, you can make gasoline, congealed gas if you need to. But predominantly they have different types of metal here as well. Electrical, looks like every one of them except for Delta, because Delta is kind of your introduction into this tier. So I don't think that Delta has one, but everything else does. And you need alpha blood, alpha essence, and then regular metal to make the alpha metal. Essentially that works. I think they're all like that. I think they're all the blood and the essence for the most part. Yes, looks like it. Yep, they're all the blood and the essence. All right, and that's where you make those bars. Those bars will be used to make some of the saddles that we talked about and some other items later on. The potion table, this one is a little nutso, but I kind of like it. So you have this normal suicide elixir, which essentially just kills you or your dino. You just kill stuff off. I guess it depends on what mod you're running. I guess if your character's stuck or something like that. I don't know about the elixir part. I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like if you're running this mod, you're probably running other mods that you can use to kill stuff off with, but the option's there in case you're not. So, I mean, it's good to be prepared, I guess. In your normal elixirs, these all have a plethora of different abilities. So you have stuff that gives you strength here. I think this one actually this one removes your torpor, wakes you up, and stamina elixir. And some of these are used, and it'll specifically say that they're supposed to be used on your dinos or you or both. So, but really it's all stat related. But some of these actually get kind of funny. Like when we talk about the frog elixir, it allows you to jump like a frog and take no fall damage. So there's some cool little ones in here. I suggest playing around with these. They're fun. And then we have these three here. The hair elixir will allow you to regrow all your hair and beard all the way back. The achievement elixir, which is interesting, it gives you all the achievements apparently. The fashion one's kind of cool. It unlocks all the hair and emotes as well, so you don't actually have to go find those around. You just have them all. So cool little additions that I think are pretty nice little touches. That is generally it for most of our resource gathering stuff, structures that you can build. I like that none of this is super big with the exception of the altar, and we'll talk about that in a second. But I really like that these things are kind of compact. They don't take up a lot of space. So even if you were to kind of incorporate this into an already running ARK server, like you wouldn't... The thing that I would hate with the total conversion stuff is that you have to make some gigantor base to fit all this extra stuff in. You don't have to with this. This is all pretty small, and some of this can just sit outside. It's not going to take up very much room. I really like this Supreme farm. I think this is really cool. The idea of being able to line a bunch of these up if you want to. We just had a dodo and a pig just show up as well. So the way that you will naturally step up the tiers with this is by using this boss summoner. So what this does, and it's pretty straightforward, is you'll be able to summon mini bosses of each type, of each tier. You'll be able to summon them. Now you'll need crystals, which you'll get from killing that type of elemental creature, that tier of creature, and you'll stuff them in here, and then you'll hit this mini boss thing and it'll spawn the mini boss. Now, I've already done this once, and I'm not going to do it again because it did in fact summon a mini boss right here on this platform. I wasn't sure exactly how it worked, and I figured I would test it, but what it will do, you'll see a big green ring go around you, or color depending on what you're doing, and a mini boss will show up right here basically and instead start fighting you. You don't have to stay inside the circle. You can start it up and then walk out here and jump on your animals and get ready, but basically wherever you put this guy is where you need to be prepared to fight your bosses at. So probably wouldn't put it right next to your bases or right next to where your stuff's set up unless you want everything to die. These are named mini bosses, but I got to tell you, they don't feel like mini bosses. They have a lot of health. This prime Allosaurus here, every time he bites something, was doing 63,000 damage. And that's without any melee upgrades, right? And this is kind of the stats you're going to see on a lot of these animals with this mod running. And it took me a solid 5 minutes of biting this boss to actually kill it. So it's going to take you a bit of time. It's nothing to stuff your nose with. Just because it says mini boss, I would definitely take it a bit more seriously. But the idea is to get this, right? To get this, and then you'll get rewards from killing this mini boss will in turn let you fight the next one. And that's really how you unlock your tiers. To fight the alpha boss, you would need stuff from the delta and so on. Very much like kind of fighting normal bosses already, how we step up the tiers and you need stuff from the previous boss to fight it. It pretty much works the same way. And right now we go all the way up to prime. I believe there is some ambitions to further like make these tiers a step up even farther in the future. I don't know if that's going on right now or soon, but that is something that should be coming down the pipe as far as what I can see on the Steam Workshop page. So we have the tiered of animals of all different shapes and kinds. We have the boss summoner that lets us all these tiers. Well, you're also going to need you kind of needed eggs. I'm actually recording this right after a recent update where you don't actually need eggs so much from all these creatures, but there are some other things that you will need, and we're going to go over here and show you. And I have a Delta kangaroo because why wouldn't you have this kangaroo? You will find dodos of all different types that you'll be able to tame, and dodos will will have a higher chance of laying the type of eggs of the element that they are, of the tier that they are. So we have delta eggs, we have alpha eggs, and I have fire eggs over here. What you're going to need to do is you're going to need to find gotchas. They're going to spawn of different tiers. You're going to want to tame these gotchas. So you're going to need these gotchas for just about everything. The reason why is because each tier will drop their own type of crystals, and those crystals will give you certain things. Things like seeds, things like herbs, things like certain ingredients that you're going to need in order to craft the certain kibbles that you need. So there is really no way around that I can see not having to have some sort of gotcha farm for this to work. So you're going to need gotchas, you're going to need to feed them. Now, the problem that I'm having here is what these gotchas are supposed to be eating. Now, the saving grace here is because they're different variants, they don't seem to be sad when they're next to each other, which is kind of convenient, but I don't understand what they eat. So this one, it looks like, I think the change note said that they were supposed to eat modded eggs, so I figured get the dodos, give them the eggs, and that's what they'll eat. This one will just eat meat, the Delta variant, so, and it's made crystals for me, and I've turned those crystals into, herbs that are in the cooking pot. The alpha, on the other hand, doesn't seem to be eating anything, and I don't know what I need to do in order to fix that. I thought that maybe I needed to fight the first boss before this would allow this to work. I tried that, doesn't work. I've tried putting meat in the inventory, I've tried putting items, structures, resources. I leveled up its food on purpose, trying to figure that out. No dice. So I'm not exactly sure how this goes. I'm assuming I'm doing something wrong, or maybe because it was such a recent update, maybe it wasn't addressed, I'm not sure. But end all be all, you're going to need a gotcha farm of all the different types, so best be prepared for something like that. Obviously, that's where this crate comes in, right? Being able to pick up those crystals for you when they make them. Now, the question would be, does this work with a mod like maybe like Dino Storage, where you can put them in a terminal? I honestly am not sure. I didn't actually try that. The vivariums would be another thing. I'd be curious to see how that works too. But all in all, you're going to need a gotcha farm. You're going to need to get yourself some gotchas. That's going to be kind of mandatory. I would say probably dodos of the different types, because they're going to be the ones that are really going to lay eggs for you. Those you could obviously put in a vivarium because they're just making eggs, but you're also going to need a lot of gotchas as well. At least one of each type, right? At least one of each type to give you the ingredients. The other thing I did notice, and I left it in this pot as well. And this was after I actually fought where is it? This is after I fought the the Delta boss, I actually got an alpha seed. Now what that'll actually let you do is let you grow alpha plants. And that is required for some of these kibbles as well. Let me find the alpha right here, right? So the alpha kibble requires alpha fruit. You would need to start growing the alpha plant for that to work. And that's how those are all going to work. I don't think there's a delta fruit option. I think it's just delta herbs. But from that point onward, it looks like you are going to have to find the seeds in order to make those. Now, I also ran around thinking maybe I'll be able to harvest them with this mod off of regular plant life. So I took the kangaroo and started running around harvesting stuff with nothing going on. So I'm assuming that doesn't work at all. You're really going to have to try to fight bosses and hunt other enemies down and kill them, and that's how it's going to work. But all in all, I think this is kind of a smaller version of Primal Fear, really. But I kind of like it from what I'm seeing. The only thing that I get worried about, and this seems a bit more controlled with this mod, is the thing that I didn't, I'm sure if you know me, you know I've said this like a million times. With mods like Primal Fear, I felt as if I was pigeonholed into using very specific dinos in order to do something. It doesn't seem to be, granted with the list of creatures that are available in all these different tiers, it doesn't seem like that's going to be a problem here. For the most part, it seems like you could probably use whatever you wanted within reason to make something like this work. Now, granted, I haven't played around with this too long, so I could be wrong with that, but it feels like on the surface that you can make that journey if you want to without using, you know, a specific creature to get somewhere. The mini boss thing is interesting. I like the fact that you can basically dictate where that mini boss is, and that way, you know, it's not like spawning on the map somewhere and you have to go try to find it. No, you can dictate exactly where this guy goes. I like that idea. All in all, it seems pretty organized. I'd be curious to see where it goes from here. It looks like it is actually being worked on and addressed, and it is super foggy out here. But such is life. This usually happens when we record, right? If we're on a map where it rains and it gets foggy, it gets rained and it gets foggy. That's just how it goes. There's a lot going on in this mod, and I think that if given the time, I think it can actually be something pretty cool. I'm always a little leery about the total conversion mods because I'm not sure exactly how it's going to play out. But this seems on the surface to me like it probably plays pretty smoothly. I would say if you like things like Primal Fear and those type of Pugnacia, like those total conversion step-tiered sort of playthroughs, I definitely would suggest this one. It seems pretty good. The animals seem to spawn pretty evenly. Yeah, no real big complaints. The only thing that I would be curious about, and I think it gets a little hard to do, and this is probably something that's almost impossible, really. But what I notice is I go out in the wild, and let's say I see, you know, I go find a pack of Allosauruses. Well, I need to tame a Delta Allo, right? Let's say I don't have the other tiers unlocked. Well, I might find a pack of Allosauruses that looks like this with one of each one there. And these Apex Alphas are going to tear me a new one if I even come close to it. I'm not sure if there's a way to remedy that, or even if you would want to. I'm kind of up in the air about that. It's just something that I kind of saw that I wasn't 100% sure about how I felt about it. But anywho, guys, I like this one. I think you guys should check it out. We'll have a link in the description to the Steam Workshop page for you guys. But yeah, that's it. Supreme ARK. It looks great, honestly. I really like the way that the color patterns are on a lot of these creatures. These fire creatures look absolutely awesome to me with like the fiery claws and everything. I think the color palette looks really good. Same way with the ice and the electric as well. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much it for me. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here, and I will see you on the next one.